It's Super Videos back at you for another weekly Q&A video. This is going to be Q&A number 27. As always, if you're not caught up with The Walking Dead's TV show and comic book, you may not want to watch this video because it may spoil some things for you. So let's get right into this. Let's start with The Walking Dead's TV show questions. The first question comes from Final Mystery T. He has two questions. The first one, if you could bring any TV character from another TV show in The Walking Dead, who would it be? That's actually a great question. I would have to say Walter White from Breaking Bad. To be honest, I haven't seen Breaking Bad completely, but I've seen enough to know that Walter White would be great in The Walking Dead. So that's my choice. That's a good question. The next question you have is, why is the Shane character still mentioned in The Walking Dead today? From the fans, what is the attraction? So I think with Shane, the reason why he's still loved by the fans and everything is two main reasons. One is for Shane's character himself and how ahead of his time he was, how much he understood what needs to be done in the apocalypse. That made him a strong character. So that's one reason. The other reason is John Berthel's performance and his portrayal of Shane that makes this character so enjoyable and so relatable and awesome to watch. So those are the two main reasons I think why Shane is still mentioned today and why people love Shane in The Walking Dead even now. It's been 5 seasons since he's been dead. So that's the reason. That's a great question though. The next question comes from Bilat Ni Jeny and they ask, what do you think will happen if Carol finds out what happened to Glenn, Abe, and how Negan tortured Daryl? So based on where Carol is right now, I don't think that's gonna make an effect. She still wouldn't want to join. She still wouldn't want to get involved in any more conflict. She wouldn't want to be responsible for any more deaths. But I think if the group talk with her and everyone comes together and explains why they need her and everything, she's gonna come back. But I don't think it's just gonna happen the moment you tell her about these things. It's gonna take time for her to put things into perspective and reflect on the things that are happening and why she really needs to get involved and help. Then the next question comes from David Farley. He asks, why would Negan kill Abraham? He said he wants them to work for him. Wouldn't he want Abraham because he's big and tough? Why wouldn't he kill like a woman or something because all the guys would be good to produce for him? So I do agree with you that Abe was very strong, very tough, and he would definitely be a major asset for Negan, but at the same time, he was confident and he looked like he wasn't scared of anything. He wasn't afraid. So that would cause problems in the future. And Negan was smart enough to notice that. If Negan didn't kill Abraham, at any moment, Abraham could just say, I've had enough, and lead some people, or even just by himself, do some damage. So I think Negan recognized that, and he wasn't gonna risk that. Even though Abraham would be able to do some damage by himself, he wouldn't be able to do too much damage. But at the same time, if he was able to get enough people on his side, that could be a problem for Negan. So I think the only reason Negan strategically chose Abraham was because he wanted to take away the muscle and the strength of the group. That's the whole reason. Now let's move on to The Walking Dead's TV show / comic book questions. The first one comes from Steven Moraga. He asks, do you think the spot where they were at in the first episode of season 6 would be a good spot for when Alpha takes Rick in, I think, volume 23? So I think he's referring to the moment where Alpha shows Rick the amount of walkers she has and everything like that. And you're talking about the quarry from season 6 episode 1. I think that would be a great place to film that specific scene, but I don't think it would make sense in the story for that to happen in the same spot. So if they make it so that in the show they are filming it in the same spot, but it's really meant to be another spot, then that would make sense. But I don't think it makes sense for it to be in that exact spot. and filmed in that exact spot, if you know what I mean. So in the story, it's somewhere completely different, but it would be filmed in the same location. So if that's what you mean, yeah, I agree with you. That would be a great location. The next question comes from Gavin Cottrell. They ask, do you think the Whisperers will be introduced in the Season 8 mid-season finale? No, I do not. It's way too early at that point. I think the mid-season finale of Season 8 would be the end of All Out War Part 1. And we're going to get All Out War Part 2 in the second half of Season 8. So for the Whisperers to be introduced, I think it's going to probably happen in Season 9 or at the earliest, the end of Season 8. So maybe the last episode, maybe an after credits in Season 8, episode 16 or something like that. Now let's move on to the Walking Dead's comic book questions. The first one comes from Voltex33. They ask, do you think we will ever see Beta and the Whisperers again in the comic book? Definitely. I think the Whisperers would definitely be seen again. If not in the next issue, probably in the next couple issues. The Whisperer arc, both leading to the Whisperer War and also the Whisperer War, wouldn't be complete if it doesn't conclude to some extent. If there's no conclusion. And the conclusion would be whether for all the Whisperers to die or be captured or something along those lines. So I think the only way for the Whisperers arc to be complete is for Beta and all the other Whisperers to die or be captured. Now, there's another thing that's necessary for this arc to be complete, and that is for Beta to come face to face with Rick. We haven't seen that. We've seen Alpha come face to face with Rick, but never Rick coming face to face with Beta. But at the same time, we don't really need that. Now that I'm saying this, I realize that we don't really need that, because the interesting thing about the Whisper War is that we don't have one leader. We had two leaders. We had Alpha and Beta. So Alpha met face to face with Rick. Now Beta met face to face with Negan. So in a way, Alpha was Rick's villain and Beta is Negan's villain, if you know what I mean. So I think if they don't show us Beta come face to face with Rick, it still would make sense, and it still does work in the story, because it's like we have two halves of the war. One half with Alpha being confronted by Rick, and the other is Beta being confronted by Negan. One half with Rick versus Alpha, and the second with Negan versus Beta. So I think it would work both ways. But to answer your questions, we will definitely be seeing Beta and the Whisperers again. The last question comes from Nikolai Shjad, and they ask, you think that it's possible that Andrea could die because of Rick and his limited conditions? Like if he had to save her but he is too slow and can't, or something like that. I could see that being possible. It would definitely make Rick's death more emotional, and it would definitely add to the intensity of the scene, but I don't think it's required. It's possible, but it's not required. Rick could die in any way. It doesn't have to involve saving someone. But if it does involve saving someone, especially Andrea or even Carl, it would definitely be something that would be cool to see. But it's not required. So that's it for this Q&A video. Thanks for participating. If you want to participate in the Q&As, please write your questions in the comment section below. Make sure to put Q&A before your comments so I can find it. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll be back for another video.